right, you have voluntarily pushed play on the Rocker Dogcast, the only show that talks to musicians about their dogs and how these canine companions enrich their lives. I'm your host, Tim Dill. My life is enriched by my dog, Charlie, and today, all the way from Tangier, Morocco, we zoom in with musician, author, entrepreneur, and human and animal rights advocate, Alex Henry Foster, whose new LP, The Fragile Beauty of New Morning Hopes, is out this October 23rd and will be the first of a 5-album series. And these are his inspirationally named Rocker Dogs.
Oh, that would be Robert. I adopted him. Well, actually, someone came to my door and left him for me to adopt him. So this is Robert
Oh
here.
my gosh, hot off the press.
Yes, 4 weeks. So we're getting him back in shape because here in Tangier, there's a whole lot of street dogs and there's a lot of refuge and everything. But most of the dogs, they're usually in bad shape. And Robert is the second one that I'm adopting from here that I need to supervise to get him back in shape. So he's on medication. So that's why he's very quiet. Otherwise, he's already singing a song of his own. But so far, so good.
All right. It's funny. As soon as you mentioned Robert, I'm like, Robert, I have all these names of these dogs, and none of them are named Robert.
Yeah, because it's funny. Since I started to adopt dogs, I wanted to name them after artists that I really admire and who have been instrumental in my own journey. So that last one, I felt it was like a bit of a romantic goth. So I said, well, Robert Smith would be great for him. He's got that attitude. So Robert, it is.
I love it. And now that you mention it, let's go through. I know you've got some dogs back in the States who
Yes,
also are named after influential artists. Who are
yes.
they?
So there's Leonard for Leonard Cohen. And I adopted Leonard and MacKaye, who passed away 3 years ago, two brothers. And MacKaye was named after Ian MacKaye from Minor Threat and Fugazi. In Canada, there's Louna. And we thought she was a he because she was such in bad shape. She was basically left for dead in a park here, not that far from my home. And she was in a state where it was a matter of like hours before she would pass away. So when we saw her, we just grabbed her and we were able to save her. And so now she's in Canada and she's mainly husky. And oh my God, she's the rock star doing like her thing and driving everybody crazy. So, but that's a beautiful thing as well to see her like doing that well. So it's a little bit of the circus I'm part of.
It's funny when you mentioned Luna, being the husky and that she's kind of living up to the name or the breed.
Yeah.
I'm curious, in your experience, have you ever had a dog that went against type, that kind of went against what their breed was all about?
So when I was a young adult, starting to have my studio and all, so I saw that beautiful Labrador, 5 years old. So her name was Shadow, and knowing that Labrador usually they're very smooth and all, but that one was because she was probably like beaten and all, so she was pretty much aggressive, and it took me like some time just to be able to gain her trust. So that was a little bit of like my introduction with dogs that were a bit damaged, but then through love and time, so I managed for her to trust me, and she was with me until she was 13. So, but for the rest, I got the two boys, MacKaye and Leonard. I adopted them from while I was on tour in Texas, in Austin. They were like the sweetest boy. Leonard still like acts like a little baby, and Luna, she's a bit of a rascal. And now Robert is pretty chill. So we'll see how he will
Yeah.
turn out. But except for Shadow, I never had like pure breed per se.
Now, with Leonard and MacKaye, as you mentioned, I wasn't aware of the story of you adopting them. And I believe Leonard is 11 years old. So if you go back, this is probably like
Yeah.
2015. You
Yes.
just mentioned you adopted them on tour. What
Yeah.
were the circumstances surrounding that?
Actually, I was still mourning Shadow. For me, it was like, okay, well, I'm too emotionally attached. I don't want to have like any other dogs. And I was staying at a friend's house. She's got like a beautiful ranch, and we were starting the tour. And so her dog had like, I think, eight puppies. And she was like, "Oh, do you want one? I think you'll be like great." And I said, "Well, I don't know if I'm ready." So at one point, I just get like in the room where they were like doing their crazy puppy things. And Leonard just like came to me, he sat down, he looked at me, and he was like, just talking to me. And I was like, uh, no. So, and he was always with his buddy. And MacKaye at the time was like the fattest one, that one never missed a meal.
Yeah.
So, and he finally managed to get himself right by Leonard, and they were always together. And so I told my friend, look, I'm going on tour. I'll be back and we'll see how I will process that. And when I came back, I said, okay, well, if it's okay for you, I'm going to pick those two because they're always together. I didn't want to separate them. And at the same time, I felt like I didn't want to replace Shadow. So I needed to pick those two and they would be like together. So that would be a different kind of dynamic as well.
I'm curious, all these different personalities, and one of the standard questions I ask is, what do you learn from your dogs? But in your particular case, I want to ask, what do you learn from each dog? Do you learn something different from each dog?
Yeah, of course. With MacKaye, what was very, very special, I'm someone who's always like doing so many things. It's like New York Minute, I never stop for, oh, well, I'm going to do this and this and that. So I just kind of like learned to change the way I was dealing with life, all the different moments, to sit down, to be present. So that's something that really MacKaye kind of led me into. And Leonard was completely different in so many different ways. Anytime we were doing something, if it was like going through emotional stuff when I lost my dad or things like that, you always found a way to kind of come close and to be so gentle and to be so sweet. So Leonard was just like very sensitive in that sense. And even for me, that was just like showed me patience and benevolence and to be present and sometimes you don't have to say much but just to be there. So there
Yeah.
was a lot of things like that. And Luna, she's like all over the place, but what I like about her is that naive, juvenile, everything is about playing. But what she was giving us, and me in particular, was that energy, that very kind of innocent, kind of joyful spirit will convince everyone around, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So that's it's contagious.
Yeah. Now, my dog journey is owning a dog is 8 years.
Mm,
So I've yet to suffer the loss. And I can assume how devastating it could be. You've used the word devastating, you've used the
yeah.
word unbearable loss.
Yes.
And lately, I've seen a lot of these articles come up about why does losing a dog or pet hit harder than, say, a human?
Yeah.
Did you have that experience?
Yeah, firsthand. And sometimes people around you they don't understand that as well. Even for me, it was like a bit like surprising because when I lost my father, of course I was heartbroken. There was something that a part of me was gone. But when I lost MacKaye, I'm still barely able to talk about it to this day. And it's been almost 3 years already. There's not a day that passes that I'm not thinking about him. It's difficult for me to understand why, maybe because it's that pure love that
Yeah.
has been given to you. So I think there's more, at least for me, like a much deeper involvement in terms of like emotional bond with my dogs than I ever experienced with anyone else. And sometimes I feel a little bit guilty about it, but it's that, I don't know, it's that pure and very profound connection that it's just kind of divine and or maybe I should say like sacred for
Mhm.
me. So they have that place in my life where they're really part of it. So when I lost my dad, I found comfort in MacKaye and Leonard. So for whatever reason, it felt like they sensed it. It felt like they were going out of their way to make me happy. And the same thing when I had like a life-threatening heart surgery, came back home in Virginia, and again the boys, they were like super gentle, and they were like extra careful because usually it's very, we were physical together, we were playing, and so
Yeah.
they were ultra careful as if they knew my condition was requiring that kind of like kindness or extra care.
Yeah, it's amazing how they consistently show up for you.
Absolutely.
I know you're involved in human rights and stuff like that. When did animal advocacy, I assume, before you were a well-known musician, that's probably when the
Yes,
light bulb first went off.
absolutely.
When or where was there a light bulb moment for you?
Probably like early teens. One of my friend had like an old dog, and it was so cruel with it that it got me to the point where I broke into a fight with that so-called friend. And from that moment on, I've always been very, very sensitive to that. And after that, when I had the opportunity to be involved a little bit more, so then it became even more real.
Yeah.
So for me, it was the balance. I was really involved with human rights, but I never like it was never at the expense of my love for animals, and the way, how far I was willing to go for human rights was like as far as I was ready to go for animal rights. So
Yeah.
that was fundamental for me, I would say.
Okay. Well, it's funny coming off such a profound topic to segue into what I call the zoomies, because the zoomies are mostly frivolous and fun, fast
Nice.
questions. So let's go there. The first question is, are your dogs currently the image on your phone's home screen?
The real question should be, is there a place where they're not on display? That would be better suited for my kind of environment. They're on my phone, my iPad, my iMac, everywhere I go, on my gear when I'm live. So they're constantly somewhere to the point where my friends are a bit concerned. But absolutely.
Well, just tell them there could be worse habits to
Yes,
be
yeah,
upset
absolutely.
upon.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Okay, question two, do any of the dogs have a theme song?
Yeah, actually, with MacKaye and Leonard, that was "I Want to Be Your Dog" from the Stooges. So every time I wanted to get them like crazy, and from the moment they were like babies, so I would like put that song very loud, and they would be like, "Okay, man, there's something going on. Alex is up to something. So what is it? What is it?" So it always been that little thing that we shared.
That's great. Now, question three, I ask if they go on tour with you, do you ever add anything to the tour rider, or even if it's hypothetical? Have they toured
Yeah,
with you?
I brought them once.
Okay.
So until I realized it wasn't for Leonard, he wasn't happy. So it wasn't. It would have been selfish on my part to bring them, and I didn't want to separate them with MacKaye. So, but let's say if they were touring with me, so of course I would ask like a comfy bed, fresh water, a few plush toys for them to destroy them and to create chaos and the whole thing. So that would be pretty much it. I kept them very tight on treats and just like good food. That's a beautiful thing. They don't need much.
Yeah.
So, but what you're offering them just make the whole difference in the world, especially if you're there to kind of take part of this thing.
Yeah.
So that would be it.
That's a good point. They don't need much, but they give so much.
Absolutely.
All right, question four, and I'm curious to know the answer. Do you have a dog voice?
Yeah. So I don't go that crazy or too much,
Yeah.
but sometimes I will, and it drives them crazy in a beautiful way. So when I'm coming back, especially when I'm traveling and I'm coming back home, suddenly that high pitched little voice that nobody was just like, what? That little falsetto of love
Yes.
is out, and it's only for them, and they're going crazy. So absolutely, absolutely. I'm the whole cliche, and it's great.
Yes. On a couple of different occasions, you've mentioned how traveling from Tangier to Covington, is that in
Yep,
Virginia?
yep.
It's like 6 legs of travel. I
Yeah.
can imagine the headache it is, the logistics, but you mentioned how beautiful it is to walk through the door and get the welcome from two
Oh man.
eager dogs.
Honestly, this is the most beautiful sensation in the world. Me, I really embrace it to the fullest. I always loved it. And so I never felt like, oh, they're, take just cool down, and just like go away or whatever. Me, I was the one like throwing myself on the ground, playing with them. So it was just part of this whole ritual that we had together, the three of us. So, and regardless of where I would go, how long it would be. So there was always I always made sure that every time I was coming back, it was significant for everybody because
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's funny. I call these the zoomies, but we've got these long answers, which are great. The last question is there a dog service or organization or individual you'd like to shout out for doing good for you, your dogs, or animals in general?
Absolutely. Is it okay if I have like a few, not too
Sure.
long? I won't take too
Sure. Hey,
much
no,
time.
yeah, the more the merrier.
All right. So here in Tangier, it's called the SFT Animal Sanctuary. And what they're doing here, it's phenomenal because they're tagging every street dog and they will sterilize them. They will treat them. They're really, really taking care of them because here the population of street dogs, it's within the hundred of thousands all
Yeah.
over Morocco. So it's large, and kudos to the authorities because they changed our laws, and it's now illegal to dispose of any street animals. So that's why they're supporting those shelters. But those guys, what they're doing here is just like phenomenal. It's a true calling, and they really love animals. They're doing it for the right reasons. They're legit, and that's always the most difficult thing, to find a place where you know that when you're bringing an animal, which I often do, and they will actually take care of it
Yeah.
truly. So that's this one. Also, the level of compassion I received from the Virginia Tech Animal Cancer Care and Research Center in Roanoke, that was out of this world because I was so heartbroken every time I was going there with MacKaye. It lasted like 6 months. We were going there 3 or 4 times a week. So he was doing like all sorts of like cycles and chemo cycles. It was like very tough. And at the same time, they were so dedicated to animals and they were so into it. They were developing their own protocols. So they had like all sorts of alternatives. So MacKaye, because it was such a rare form of cancer that was uncurable, they were able to kind of develop different things, which was great. But they were like so human. And sometimes, when you're in that kind of like a research center, people are nice. Obviously, they care, but it's that little measure of humanity that kind of lacks, sometimes.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
were like phenomenal. So those guys, and also Jackson River Veterinary Clinic, Dr. Mann, he was the one taking care of Leonard and MacKaye in Virginia.
Okay.
Super sweet guy. He developed like holistic programs and stuff like that. And he walked with us through the moment where MacKaye was ready to go away. He kind of led us as well to say, well, I think it would be a good thing for Leonard to be here so he can understand, he can feel it. They always been together all their lives,
Yeah.
so he was so going, the extra mile.
Yeah.
So, and it really like had an incredible impression on me. And here again in Tangier, he's called Dr. Lareche from the clinic California in Tangier. And this guy is the one that helped us to save Luna because nobody wanted to kind of treat Luna. She was like too far gone, but he did like so many things. He was like contacting people in Europe to make sure that we would have like a certain medication and all that stuff. He went above and beyond for her, and he saved her. And now he's the one being in charge of Robert, who's like dealing with that crazy virus that goes around with all the dogs in danger, the parvovirus. So it's
Oh,
very,
yeah.
yeah, so it's very intense. So now we're working on saving this little chap right there, which we will. So those guys, they're all my ultimate heroes.
And deservedly so. Thank you for sharing that. And we'll try to get more information and put it up in the show notes to this episode.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Well, Alex, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I knew going into this you had a lot of stuff on your dogs, and I was eager to dig into it. And just mentioning Louna again, she's got such an amazing story. You know, you really brought her back from the dead, and I know you do a lot of great work. So thank you for that.
Thanks to you. Thanks for having me. In the cycle of all the interviews I have to do, don't tell the others, but that was the one I was really looking for.
I so appreciate that. I so appreciate that.
Well, so thank you so much for having me.
It was my pleasure.
Carl, you're a damn good dog.